My name's Andrew. I contracted or got reflux about 3 years ago, I guess. It came on very suddenly. The impact was quite considerable. It affected me really every day, throughout the day. It would wake me up, and it was something I wanted to try to address. My symptoms were a sort of a regurgitation of fluid up the esophagus into the throat. It was a harsh acidity which tended to burn the throat, burn the back of the mouth, and it was very sort of invasive in terms of my life. It would certainly wake me up. I'd wake up very early. I'd be woken up by the burning sensation, and I'd have it really throughout the day. It would sometimes be stronger, sometimes a little less, but it would be there throughout the day, and it was slightly tiring and draining, and a persistent issue. Well, I began by just trying to ignore it and go with it. That didn't work, so I then tried indigestion tablets and then Gaviscon and things like that, none of which really made any difference at all. I then moved on to PPI type treatments, which did work insofar as it took the acidity away, but didn't change the reflux mechanic at all. I still had the reflux. And I was left really with a situation where I felt I had three options: either just go with it and just get used to it. I was concerned about the impact that might have on my health. The other was to take PPI pills forever, and I was reluctant to take medication for the rest of my life. And the third option was to consider surgery, and to consider, if I was going to go down that route, I wanted something that was elegant and simple and minimally invasive. I think I mentioned to a friend that I had this issue, and they mentioned that they had the same issue and had been under guidance from Mr. Boyle. As it happens, by sheer coincidence, Mr. Boyle had operated on me 10 years earlier when I'd had a hernia operation from, I think, overtraining, too many sit-ups, and he'd dealt with me once before, so it was a very easy connection for me to get in touch with him. The diagnostic process was very straightforward, thorough, and effective. I was put through a series of tests to establish whether there was anything fundamentally wrong. I think I had some endoscopies, which appeared on paper to be very worrisome, but actually were very straightforward procedures. And over time, we were able to establish that there wasn't if you like, a fundamental nasty going on behind the scenes, and that there was a clear reflux issue, and in fact a small hernia, and that it was clearly something I needed to address. It was not just going to go away. It was a fundamental problem that needed to be fixed one way or the other, and that sort of really got me to a point where I had to think properly about what to do next. So I found the whole procedure very efficient, effective. Needless to say, I had a degree of anxiety about voluntarily going under the knife. I felt intellectually it was the right thing to do, but emotionally it's sometimes a big step. But Mr. Boyle and his team were very effective at handling that and helping me through the process. I was taken in early one morning. I think my operation kicked off at 8:30 or something like that. It was all done by 9 o'clock or whatever, 9:15. And I woke up back in my room, and I really didn't feel in any material discomfort at all. The surgery itself is, I think, minimally invasive. So I had some small scars which had been sutured. I was able to have a ham sandwich, I think, about an hour and a half after waking up, because I was hungry, and I was able to eat that. I mean, clearly I ate it mindfully. I have a habit of gulping my food, but I was more cautious, and there were no issues. And in fact, I felt so good after a couple of hours. I got up, got changed, and sat on my bed waiting for Mr. Boyle to come out of surgery and let me go. And I went home later that day. So having come home, well, I'm 12 weeks out of the operation now. I came home the same day as the operation. I was able to, I felt no material discomfort from the operation. I took some ibuprofen because I felt I probably ought to minimise swelling, but I took that for a day and then didn't need it. I was able to eat quite well straight away. And in fact, I took Mr. Boyle's advice of just going for it and eating everything and anything I wanted, carefully and mindfully, but not really restricting my diet at all. And for the first few days, that was fine. After about a week, it started getting a little bit more difficult as I think the scar tissue started firming up, hardening up. But it was a process I was able to work through. I was careful in the food I ate. I ate small amounts frequently. And if things did get difficult, if things got stuck, I just didn't panic and went with it. And after 8, 9, 10 weeks, it got easier and easier. Now at 12 weeks, I can really eat almost anything I like without any material problems. I will always have to eat sensibly. I can't bolt my food. I can't gulp my food down. If I do, then it can and does get stuck. But I can eat sensibly, and it doesn't really restrict my life at all. Other symptoms, I think any operation of this type in the abdomen is going to cause some issues. I think my tummy is currently quite sensitive. I get cramps if I don't eat quite frequently, and I get cramps if I sit in the car for too long, for example. But these are minor issues, and I expect them to abate over time. Certainly they're being monitored by Mr. Boyle, and I would hope to be back to normal in 6 months or so. So in summary, I'm extremely pleased that I've done this. It seemed at the time to be a big decision to voluntarily go under the knife when there were other options, including just taking PPIs. But I thought it was the right thing to do intellectually, and actually, now I've done it, I know it's the right thing to do. It's really taken the reflux away totally. There are no reflux issues at all. Yes, I have to be a little bit more thoughtful about how I eat my food, which is no bad thing. But I am very happy that I went down this route, and I think it's something people can and should consider if that's something if reflux is something that troubles them.